I do think the last piece of this puzzle is the impossibility, yet attempt being worthy of language. And why do you think that's true? Because that is a thing that we agree on. We share that intuition, even though we also kind of work from a, don't let me project this onto you, but like borderline existentialist framework that like,
Yeah.
If you kind of have to start from nihilism logically, we both take the tack of like you make your own meaning, and if you're making your own meaning, then in the attempt of dwelling in language, meaning arises. Why is that important, and why do you choose to do that? And do you think that is an obligation of everyone, or just one you feel of yourself? That
those
was
are all
30 questions.
No, they were all very good questions. No, I agree. We both have like an existentialist flavor of
Flavor, yeah.
Yeah, like looking at things and talking about things. But I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really mean anything. Like, I don't think the inside of nihilism is wrong, which is why it kind of goes full circle. Like, nihilism, there's no meaning, whatever. Existentialism, no meaning means we get to create our own meaning. But then it goes back to the absurdism, which is basically like, yeah, but don't forget that the meaning you create is basically gone when you're gone. But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean it's not. I don't know. At the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. But what else am I supposed to do, you know? I don't know. It's still pretty fucking cool that this is all the time I have. I think creating meaning where there wasn't any, knowing in the back of your mind that when you're dead, it's gone with you. But despite that, we go on and we do the thing. And I think there's something so beautiful in that, in being thrown into life and just kind of like treading water, just trying so desperately to figure out, what is this? Why is this? All those questions that, I mean, yeah, does it lead to some existential crises from time to time? You bet it does. But I can't imagine living any other way. And to answer your other question, I mean, of course, this is not how most people feel, I would say. I'm sure there are aspects of this existential dread that, you know, impact people in different ways. But I think to do what we're doing, which is to grapple with that dread directly, like to face it head on and not shrink back from it, which is the task of the poet and the philosopher and other professions.
All the really cool ones.
All the coolest ones. Yeah, in my opinion, it was the coolest ones.
Right.
But I don't know, like it means nothing, but it's just shouting into the void. And at the end of the day, we're all just shouting into the void. But that doesn't mean that I don't want people to hear what I have to say. Like, I'm not just shouting. I want people to hear what I'm shouting. Because I think it's worthwhile to hear. And I think you probably feel the same way.
Yeah.
Even though I know that at the end of the day, it means nothing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe that sounds kind of depressing. I'd like to get your 2 cents on this.
No, I mean...
Maybe you have a less dismal sounding answer.
I'm about to go into something real dismal, so...
Okay. Let's hear it.
I'm actually going to offer a brief content warning. I'll put a timestamp in the video description and on the screen for where to jump ahead if you don't want to hear anything discussing self-harm, I'll say. I think that's a good way to put it, so I'll put that there. Well, not the thing... Okay, timestamp here, jump ahead. I think necessarily this opens up the question of suicide. Like, why not kill yourself is the ultimate question. Like, that sounds crazy. It sounds crazy
it's what Camus was talking about, you know?
It is. I'm such a Camus girly. But it's like, what a crazy sentence I just said. But,
yeah, the same.
If you, like, sitting here and talking about this, and, like, it's the necessary obligation, and hearing you say things like, how else would I do it? Like, it is kind of the question of, like, I know it means nothing, and when I die, it all goes with me, and it won't last, and yet. And so it's like, if that ultimate question is like, it really does mean nothing, then why not kill yourself? You have to live answering that question every day. And that sounds really dismal, but honestly, when I wake up and I ask myself every day, is today going to be the day?
Wait, what?
It sounds weird, but I don't mean it in like a mental health sense. I mean it in like if you don't want to kill yourself today because it all means nothing, then what do you need to do to make today worth it?
Yeah, it means nothing, but it also means everything.
Yeah. And so
life is just a funeral march at the end of the day.
Right. The living wake. And so I think that's why it's like, that's why I say it does sound dismal, is because I do think that's the question that it has to come back to. But it is also the most affirming thing that I've ever felt, because as someone who has struggled with mental health and has felt days that feel truly meaningless and truly like sitting at the bottom of a void, it's like... the days where you pull yourself up by, like, even the phrase pull yourself up by your own bootstraps is paradoxical in that, like, you can't, how could you pull up something attached to you? Like, you're gaining momentum out of nothing. Like, the physics of it makes no sense, but that's very much what it feels like. That it's like, well, I am the thing that is pulling me up out of nothingness, like, truly, and that feels like something to me. And it makes me think about, just like in this, like, why is there anything at all? The universe chose, in some weird sense, for there to be something rather than nothing. And if we are not fractals of universe experiencing itself, right? Like this whole fingertips of God's consciousness thing.
We're star stuff. Did you know we're actually star stuff?
Did you know we're made of the stars?
Did you know? I'm trying to tuck my hair behind my ears, but for one, it's too short, and for two,
over your headphones with your short hair.
Did you know we're star stuff?
Did you know that we're star stuff? Twirls hair and posts on Tumblr. We're also lightning and thunder and rain, which it's like, again, it sounds trite and overused, but I do believe it in that it's like, if this universe is such that it chose to be something rather than nothing, it makes sense that we have that same intuition too, because we are a fractal of that larger universe.
Yeah.
And I think that that's kind of what this intuition mirrors. And in asking the existentialist question, it is, I mean, just like you said, how else would I live? It feels impossible not to. And I can't put a strong finger on why, but I can say that it, even though it doesn't mean anything, that it doesn't mean nothing. Like,
yeah.
There is something about, like, throwing the logic out with that one that I'm like, we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater when we move straight into this logical thing. That's like, no, there is something to that, like, ephemeral, like, calling that is like, a call begs an answer. And why is there a calling at all? Because the universe chose to express, like, the Alan Watts, like, if we're not supposed to dance, then why all this music?
Right.
Like, sure, it all means nothing, but a symphony is literally happening around me as we're recording this episode.
Yeah, actually.
So, like,
yeah, I agree. It's a torturous and beautiful thing, life, and I don't know. Yeah, like, I just can't imagine not trying to point to what that is, even though every time I try, it's just, I'm always coming up short. But I still, it's like, it's not like I can sense the mystery and then be like, I don't know what that is. I guess I'll just move on with my life and do something else. Like, every aspect of my life points to that. And
yes, if all of life points to one thing, what is that thing?
Yeah, it's not only an impossible obligation, it's an obligation, it's an inescapable obligation.
Yes, and it's also, I think in this, like, terrifying, weighty obligation is also, like, in the same breath, like, the beautiful call of purpose, right? It's like, both, it's the thing that makes me want to vomit and the thing that makes me not kill myself, right? Like, at the same time, which is like, that's the only thing worth going forward. One thing that I do want to ask about as we're getting to the end of this here is, you said, like, can't not, like, what am I supposed to do? Feel that and then just
be like, well,
oh no, like,
I tried.
Okay, whatever, I'll go be an accountant.
And not that you can't be an accountant. Yeah, you can be an accountant and also recognize the mystery in your free time.
Right.
You know?
Like, accountants are always the example that's used. I'm starting to feel bad for accountants, but...
I know. They're I don't really know any accountants, really.
No.
But I'm sure there's some... There's definitely accountants out there that recognize and grapple with mystery.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? Well, and I think that... So, here was going to be my question. Why, I was going to ask, why is it that we seemingly see people do turn away from this? But I think the real question is it impossible to turn away from it? Because even in not ignoring the call, but almost refusing to listen to it, it's like, I mean, you can't not listen to it, though. It's like, it's all around you, my guy.
I think you can not listen to it. I mean, it's
philosophical.
It's philosophical suicide. You know, like... It's hard. Okay. It's hard. Like, life is this unwavering beckoning that's just so in your face that it's like, oh, like, you know? It's hard to deal with. It's hard to, I mean, as we've kind of pointed to here, like, it's a struggle. It's torment. But it's beautiful. It's something divine. And I can totally understand why people, if they get a glimpse of that, they'd be like, nope. You know? I think for me personally... it would be impossible to turn away from that and to be like, I'll just do something normal that doesn't have me hearing comments like on a daily basis like, you sound kind of crazy right now. Like, for me, there's no other option. I'm sure you can relate to that.
Totally. No, I completely
But I think
agree.
there's definitely a sort of coping where it's like people react to this sort of confrontation with like this existential dread in lots of different ways. For some people, it's going to be a more grounded, kind of purposeful goal. Like, existential dread, I'm going to, you know, do this particular job and make, like, a comfortable, like, steady life for myself and do this and that. Yeah. And then, which is worthwhile. I mean, that's still a meaningful creation of meaning, you know? Yeah. That's the beauty of existentialism. It is a choice. It is a choice. It's a choice. So... different life paths, different religions, all are valuable in that way because it's all a response to the mystery to create meaning. Like, it's all a sort of coping. Even philosophy is a sort of coping. Painting is a sort of coping. But there are some forms of coping that grapple with the mystery more head on and others that kind of try to conceal it a little bit. Yeah, some keep the mystery more at hand. Like, some are like a response to the mystery, and others are like a sort of dialogue with the mystery. Ooh, maybe. Yeah. No, I actually really like that because I do think that with religions being a part of this as like a response, it is very much, and this is, I think, my main issue with religion as a construct, is that it is an answer. And even though there are, of course, like, questions and journeying and like all sorts of things that happen within religion, and all of religion is not a monolith and all religious people are not a monolith, but I think that the main problem is that at its core it is trying to be a clean-cut answer of like what happens when we die and what you need to do to kind of solve this dread to like take care of it and put it away nice and take care of it. Fold it up and put it away and be like, okay, I've dealt with that. Okay, dealt with. We are good. And now I can check the confronting existential dread off my to-do list. Right. And it's like, I just have a deep problem with making it into a checkbox. Like, that is just like how you can't actually do that. I think it's a deep misunderstanding of the question. But I do think like, I'm also, you can not all religious people and not all religions really do it like that, but I think that in saying like, I mean, Christianity is the one we're the most familiar with. It's I just continually use it as the example when we go to religion, but like, Jesus Christ is the Son of God. He is the one and only begotten Son, died on the cross for our sins so that we may have everlasting life. If you believe that and you ask Jesus Christ to come into your heart, your sins will be forgiven and you're good. I'm like, great. That is a very clear solution to the call. Easy. Yeah. So I've done that. Let's say, at one point in my life I did, but it's like, let's say now, like, I am fully on board with it. I do the thing. I'm baptized. Okay, now why not kill myself? Because that's a sin. But why? But it's like, it's good. You're good. You solved it.
and now you can go to heaven forever. It's like, okay, let's get this show on the road, then, buddy.
That sounds pretty cool. Let me just speed
as
run
opposed
this.
to the suffering that is human existence. What's the quote that's like, I'm forgetting who it is, but there's some quote that is, if suffering is not the point of all of human existence, then whoever created it did a really bad job. Which, again, I think that suffering necessarily implies like a beauty and a beneficence in of itself. I think like when we think about like terror and beauty, like it's all sublime, it's all of it. So when I say that it's suffering, it's like, well, again, existentialist
everything is
flavors.
everything.
It's like, well, suffering is meaning. How do you make the meaning? How do you make the suffering meaningful? But yeah, it's like, that's why I think I like, there's a logical problem that I have with the checking the box, because it's like, okay, you checked the box.
Now what?
It doesn't really solve the issue, though.